I'm gonna go grab some water quick, and then I'll be right back. Oh, I already started it, Bruce. So a little late. What are my fib settings? That's it right there. Hmm. Maybe I put prices too. What pair are we going to trade? Just ES most likely. Um, hold up 1 minute. Get Discord up. So get this on my other screen. Sorry. Um, thoughts on EU? I don't know. I never watched EU. And it's still bearish on the higher time frames. I'd say right now looks like this. Down to that, so I'd expect something like that. Essentially, something like that. Low. But I don't know. I never watch EU. So, but ZA. I don't even know what that is. Yeah. It's no, but I don't know. I was up early, so I figured I'd just start earlier. How's it going, man? From London, so it's what, like 4 in the afternoon, something like that. So, but so this was my plan for guys, real quick. This was my plan I gave out last night, right? Essentially, I have it drawn on the screen. I wanted this move down, so then during New York Open we could get long. Doesn't really look like it gave it to us. So now, kind of looking at this. So drop into an hour, you can see this low put in. Unless we go up and take this high off open, which is definitely possible. You know, we do something like this, right? But if we don't do that, I would prefer to see this low ran reach into this order block here. right, which is in your OTE of the range, to then go reach for the 38.20s. That all kind of depends as we get closer to open. It'll be a little telling, but we want to see aggressive move down into this area. So, any plans to do psychology videos? Not currently, but I trade S&P 500 like Forex price. Yeah, I know lots of people that trade S&P and then also Forex. But we go down, right? So daily, right? What do I want? I'm bullish right now, right? Just looking at the structure, previous low, low ran, can't even close, aggressive move higher, right? Retracement into an order block, reaching for highs. So I'm bullish on the daily time frame, right? So I want to move lower to go higher, get our Judas. Ideally, we'll go look real quick, see where midnight opened. We'll mark that off. Right. I'm just going to keep that in mind. If you guys want to draw it out, you can. I know it's in the OTE of this current range, so it's definitely possible we see something more along this lines. Right. I'm kind of open to either. I'm just going to be prepared for either scenario. Love to hear that, Albert. If you're scalping, I use the 15-minute, hour, and 4-hour example. Go here real quick. So for Friday's action, the whole reason I looked long, I don't know if you guys watched that live stream, I shared it, was this 4-hour BPR, which is just this 4-hour fair value gap since it's a smaller one, right? So we reached down into that, and that's the whole reason. If we go back to replay, the reason I took NAS long here was go down to the 1 minute. Should probably go on NAS, but be a lot long forward. Sorry, should have just skipped ahead. All right, so when we get into here, right? S&P took this low, NAS didn't, right? So I took NAS long, essentially this little fair value gap right here, and then we just skyrocketed, and then I have a stream of my open. But even when you're scalping lower time frames, you want to have that higher time frame reasoning. So like this one was based off the 4-hour, right? So you don't want to just be sitting on the 15-second chart trying to play everything without any directional. What's up? Don't really know where to drop the fib. Well, I mean, ranges, every range is going to be an external range right here. Like if you just drew out this range right here from low to high, that's going to be internal to a higher time frame, right? If we go out to like a 15, see, that's internal to this. And if you look at the greater range, internal to that. So it kind of depends on what you want to do. It's just the range you're trading, and then if you're scalping, I just do the displacement range, right? So if you're looking on a 5-minute here, where did we displace? Right here. So you don't want to return into an OTE before going higher. It's like that, right? So a lot of times I don't really draw them anymore just because I can kind of tell where the 0.5 is and 0.62. Right? But H4. Yeah, so I go H4, hour, 15, and then normally 1 minute, 15 second. That's just kind of how I trade, right? So Like, I'm not really interested in anything unless we get a move down into here or a move down into here, right? And that's because I want 3820s ran, because if we look at a higher time frame, right, even a little higher, I'd ideally like to see 30s, and then actually higher, but that's for another time. And just looking at the 4-hour, it makes most sense to me to do this. From where we are right now, down into here, higher. But that's all dependent on if we run this high first or not. I don't really rush into anything, as you guys know, on Mondays. Thanks, Gary. Yeah, I mean, for the most part, it's like I see this range, 0.5 right in there, 0.62, somewhere in there, or like relatively around it, depending on where you go. But I mean, it's not going to be perfect. I don't trade the New York session or London session because I'm asleep, but not really DDC because I'm not just randomly scalping it. I mean, if I am randomly scalping it, my win rate's more around like 65%. But for the most part, I just use it to narrow down risk, right? Like if we're just going and looking right here, right? We can take our entry right there, right? We go to a 1 minute. What will that look like? Right? See how that's not as precise? So it's just like it narrows down your risk for you, right? So wait for that internal liquidity to be ran, then go, right? So yeah, what quantitative? What do you mean? Like macros and stuff from like economics? What do you mean? We are going to go to 9:45 here, so we don't forget. COT. I don't know what that is. What's COT? No, I don't include any of that. I mean, I know it's going on, obviously, but I don't like include it just because, for the most part, my 1 minute time frame trade doesn't really care for the most part the macros, except for news and other things. I just go off structure. No, I'm not currently in any trades. How many days a week do you trade? Normally, oh, commitment of shares. I'll have to look into that. I don't really do anything with that. I trade every day normally, or not every day. So, real quick, I think there's someone that said, "Isn't that a breaker block in the 1 hour time frame?" Yeah, I mean, so here's the thing about like breaker blocks, order blocks, stuff like that. This is an order block, um, but it's all the same stuff if they overlap, right? Like this is technically your breaker right in here, right? Um, it's all the same stuff. I don't really care to do too much. Like mitigation block doesn't take liquidity, right? So if we drop here and return back up into this little order block that we put in, right? That's technically a mitigation block because it never ran this high. If you were to trade the London session, what would be your criteria if it's up? Similar to, um, I mean, we'll go to London session real quick, see what happened. Yeah. We go out onto a, so obviously this is hindsight, I was asleep. But if you look, we have, I don't know if I would have taken this trade, to be honest. would have more rather look short right in this area. But once you get this displacement range up, you can start looking for long entries, right? Wait and see if we come back to an OTE, or at least below internal liquidity. Right? So I'd want something like that. Got it. No, we didn't get anything right. So I don't know if I would have taken any trades. I never watched London, so it's like I don't really know how it moves. But as for right here, right, as we've just been talking, let's see, aggressive move down, returns up into here. We want to see displacement below this low if we're going to get our drop off the open. Yeah, breakers do tend to overlap with fair value gaps for the most part. That's like how you get a clean breaker is price breaks cleanly through structure, which then leaves your order block, right? So essentially it's a failed order block that gets returned to. So we'll see what happens here. I want to kind of look at something real quick. Be the low risk sell. Ideally we get displacement below here, return back up. That, and we see previous lows, right? So little market maker model, the 15-second might be easier to see on like a one. There for right now. And I'll switch time frames. I mean, that's up to you and your personal risk tolerance and kind of bias and stuff. Everyone's slightly different. Dixie? Sure. Not rarely. I think I might have looked at it's like daily or yeah. Over here I was analyzing it a little. But Dixie kind of looks like it's gonna pop here, right? Ran previous lows, aggressive down, up. We'd want to see a pop up into here. So that could lead us to have that little drop we want off of open. You can go lower. Just chop around. Ideally, we're looking at something like this. Routing information, so just expand the range, do whatever it wants. Really watch it too much, to be honest. And looks like that failed. No displacement below lows, right? Failure to displace down means up, right? We can see if we're going to displace after running this high now, which is definitely a possibility, but I don't trade pre-market really, so I don't really care. But that's what I would like to see is if we go back over here on our one on this high, then aggressively displace this low. There. Still same idea. Nothing really to get in, but use strat a lot or stick to. I don't use the strat anything, or I just use the broad informations out of the strat. So we do. I'm looking for a drop lower to get long, ideally to run. What specifically to use volume for? Normally just volume spikes over highs and lows, right? So if you look, we ran this high right here, right? Obviously. And we have a little volume spike right there. So that can be an indication if we do get displacement, this could be our little short-term high. Basically, you just use to see like highs and lows, like right here, right? Volume spike puts in our high. So they don't always mean anything. You have to have them in context, but I just kind of have them up there on the lower time frames normally. Not normally on the other time frames, but so we'll see. And like I said, if we just shoot up to 38.20s, definitely possible. I just would prefer to see more of a Judas off of the open to then get long. But if you guys have any questions to that you want answered, we have, 30 minutes till open. So I don't know because I've never traded CFDs, but I know people that have. But I mean, I just trade futures and yo, mod, you copied and pasted that from above, bro. I kind of already answered that. It's up to your personal risk tolerance, right? Like, yeah, you could long in here. So kind of what you're saying is, oh, we have a displacement range, puts in a new low, and now we're getting displacement range. Can you long in here and put your risk here? Like, that's up to you, right? I'm that's personal risk tolerance and how you trade. You're good. What's our bias for the day? I'm bullish on the week. London didn't really do what I wanted it to, which kind of sucks. Yeah, I mean, this is putting in bullish structure for the short term. Right. Do you exit? Normally, I exit limit. It just kind of depends. I'm used to, like, my main platform is like, I like NinjaTrader, but for like live trading and stuff, it's kind of hard to use NinjaTrader and show it. I just like NinjaTrader for the fact that you can have brackets, right? So it's like, oh, I want to risk, I have a 4 point stop. I have my 5 contracts preset at 2R that I can adjust. So it's not like I have to like fiddle around. I can just enter. The downsides between like Elite Trader Funding and like FTMO and FFF is one, it's cheaper off the bat, but you do have that monthly charge. And then also, unlike MT or FTMO and MMFF, you have to wait a little while longer for your withdraw, which kind of sucks. But I mean, for like $40, it's not bad to as an intro, right? Hmm. Hendrix, have you watched my intraday bias video? That's probably the one I'd recommend. So ideally, we get this 9 o'clock flip. We just see something like this. I'm still wanting that Judas. Could be fighting it, but not like I'm trading anything right now. So what do you mean bias time frame? No, that that ended on the 20th, sadly. So we do kind of have a BPR look here. So do you consider ITC? Yeah, I mean, I do, but for the most part, I've found that it's just like I look at the overnight structure, see where there's displacement, which highs are ran, which lows are ran, and normally those will align with like a London low being put in, right? Like this low I'm looking at, London low being put in, right? So yes, you can differentiate it, but Euro GB second Euro. obviously if the Dixie's going to go up, this is going to go lower, right? I think that's how it works. I don't really know because, oh, I guess this is I'm okay. Not really certain on how that works, but what most looks the most obvious to me is super fat run drop, right? So kind of sweeps everything, wants to go lower. Where do we have obvious lows resting right here? I'd want this hit there on the daily. And the 4 hour, you can see we kind of gapped up, retch into this liquidity void. Go lower as well. The only thing that doesn't shout lower is this right here. Right? Consolidation, aggressive move lower, aggressive move higher. Right? So it is possible come back down, run this low, go higher. I never analyze this stuff, so I'm not really certain. Sorry, I was just doing some Discord stuff. This week is stacked. Yeah, isn't there some earnings coming out too? Thought there was some tech earnings coming up. Definitely could be wrong, but so no break in trend to the downside yet. Nothing aggressive on that lower time frames even either. This is why like I used to wake up, watch from 8:30, and sometimes do if there's news, but it's just I don't really find my edge to be in the lower time frames during 8:30 to 9:30. So normally when I get up, it's and why I start is like my stream normally starts here, right? Um, so gold, and you can look at it. You gotta realize this is like super quick analysis stuff I don't normally look at, but the way I see this here, what 1 hour, just blind, ran that. We have this little order block that it did bounce off of, right? But ideally, get a little pop, reach down into an OTE of this range, right? I don't even know what the higher time frames we're looking at, so higher time frames, I'd be bearish for the time being, solely off the fact that if this low would have gone lower, came back up, would have been bullish up into this area, which is how it left those lows. Not super sweet, so I'd want those lows taken. 4 hour kind of went over hour, right? 15. So similar thing there. Rich up into there, and you look, retest that previous low. So I'd want to see lower prices out of gold currently. If we go to like something like 1 minute, knowing that, right? Holding this high, could look for something like after this aggressive move down, fair value gap retesting those previous lows, or if you get something like this, right? Ideally put in some equal lows there, right? That'd be my little gold analysis, but I never really watch it, so. No, I in a futures broker. So like Ninja Trader, Trade of 8. So this isn't looking super great for downside yet, but I don't really pay too much attention to pre-market, right? Because once the volatility comes in, then we just look where liquidity's resting and what happens. Tesla for longs. I haven't watched Tesla since it was at like, ooh. I mean, you're isn't this earnings? I mean, we're opening down here, right? So I mean, if you want to play, if you think earnings gap fill, you could try to play that up. I don't mess with like earnings and stuff, right? But obviously what happened. I mean, as long as it still be bullish until on the 1 minute, well, it doesn't mean much, it's 1 minute, until that low's taken. You can go look at a daily. I mean, honestly, it looks like Tesla should rip. Right? Oops, that is my backgrounds. Runs previous low. If we get an aggressive move off, the only thing is earnings kind of put us right back into that range. But we are opening right on that order block, right? The open of that. But yeah, they had earnings less. Oh, I have no idea. I'm not sure about that, buddy. I mean, I can go ahead and try it real quick. I can try to take your Euro USD trade or something like that. Why do I only trade futures? Sounds NAS. Yeah, NAS will be pretty similar for the most part. See, like NAS is a little bit weaker of the three, right? So just keeping that in mind, right? YYM is going to try to diverge here, right? S&P is kind of just in the middle here. It does look like we're going to get this little drop here, at least to run these lows. It'll be more fun for analysis wise once we come back in. But I took 2 Asia trades yesterday and just called it good. So it's not like I'm pressured to go into anything. Yeah, I could do that at some point. Bro, if a nuke attack, all futures gonna have their stops ignored, margin called into oblivion. Sounds like if there's a nuclear attack, I feel like I would not be in a position. I don't trade positionally like that. Like I just am intraday. Yeah, the drop would be inducement. That's ideally what I want. That's why I want this 4 hour drop below here. Basically, and then we'd make a little broadening formation. If you look, drag this one back, right? So consolidate, range expansion. Uh, that's NAS, obviously, but limit on fair value. Yeah, that's not how I trade. You can do it if you want, but I trade by having a point of interest and then looking for lower time frame setups within that. Here we go, we get that drop, and if you look, NAS is weaker, like I said, so getting a little bit more of an aggressive drop. Kind of see that right here, right? We'll see what YM does, leads the way, but this is reaching. Like I said, I'm not interested in anything. Tell RTH open. Yeah, like I don't know why you're talking about nuke attack. If there's a nuke dropped, like I don't think I'm gonna be live streaming on a Monday. So What win rate has your 1 to 4 hour biases? Not trades, just the bias. I'd say like normally my 1 to 4 hour bias is like pretty solid, like probably 70%. I'll go find some. Here's like the last one I did, 1019. Gonna pull it up. So if we're just looking right, this was my 4 hour, right? I wanted to move higher than lower, right? This was a 15-second setup, right? Which ended up working out. And then wanted this move higher and then lower. And if you look, this was my bias from Monday on the YouTube channel. Wanted that move into there for going higher. And if you look, that is what we got. Reach up into there and go lower. So there's setups in both directions. I mean, yeah, exactly. What is your trigger for entry when price pulls back into fair value up? I look for the lower time frame model, exactly the same, right? So I'll just pull up something like this, right? So if we're just drawing out, a good example is this one right here, right? So obviously I'm just going to draw because you can see consolidation, aggressive move higher. So bullish here, right? Then we have the other BPR, right? So that's why bullish here. So seeing that vector, right? We'll just draw that out. So essentially there, right? When we get into this area of this point of interest down here, I zoom in, and what I want to see in there is the same model, right? So I want to see something like that, right? For an entry there. Then let's say it's not perfect in this, well then I zoom in lower than this time frame into here and look for that model. That's essentially how I trade. So like on Friday, 4 hour setup, NAS gave a 1 hour or 1 minute entry. If you missed that, you could go lower or just zoom out, wait for the RTH open, which gave another entry. I don't look for the divergence between S&P and Dixie. That's what I'm wanting is a move lower to then go higher. Will we get it? Who knows? We can just run this high for all I care, but that's not what I want to enter because, like I said, just theoretically, this isn't how I would have my risk reward. But like if I'm entering here, where am I wrong? Down here, targeting there, right? Or right there. I want to enter down here. See the difference? No, I don't. I don't skip the 1 hour. I go. If you watch my like when I just go into like gold, right? Well, gold wasn't a great example, but um, you can see what happened though. Put in that low, reach back into here. But I normally just go daily, 4 hour, 1 hour, 15, and then I'll go to the lower time frames. Sometimes I skip the 5. It's more of an intraday time frame for me. Doesn't really give me too much bias. The 15 through 4 hour does, right? So, hope that kind of explains it. I go over that in my point of interest video, or kind of, but I just don't keep up my split screen sometimes. So here's how my split screen works, guys. So upper left hand corner is my higher time frame. I'll switch it between the daily 4 hour, 1 hour, right? Always have a 15-minute chart up here. Always have a 5-minute chart up here. Up right here, I'll skip through the lower time frame. So if I'm looking at a 4, 3, 2, 1, 15-second, any of those, that will be my lower time frame. These are kept exactly the same right here and here. Here I'll switch between the 1 hour, 4 hour, right? And then sometimes 1 day. Right? But I already know what they look like, so I like sitting on the 4 hour just because it's one of my personal favorite higher time frames. So you're bearish on US 30, sweet. I mean, I wanna drop down. We'll see what happens when open comes around, right? 9:45, we do have red folder news, right? So not expecting a whole lot off the open until then. We'll see. People that. What's up, Aaron? Yeah, this is S&P futures. So you can see right here, got a little broadening formation, consolidating here. I'd want another one. Right? So we have a high here. I'd want something like that. Right? Obviously, I'm still wanting downside just because that is what I'd want for my actual to get long. Here, see what happens. Definitely a little divergence at these lows, right? Dow couldn't take out, or I guess slightly did, but Nas is weaker, so should see it drop a little bit further. Ideally, I would have had Nas not take this, S&P take it. That would have been more ideal, but how do I change time frame so quickly? What do you mean, like when I just do that? All you have to do is type in the number you want. So if you want the 5 minute, switch to 5 minute, 2 minute, switch to 2 minute. I mean, we all have struggles, right? Like, I've personally have had a lot of self doubt lately, just like about trading, and it's just kind of have to, if you have that, I just take a step back and I'll like paper trade for a day, and then realize like why am I self doubting? Like my rules and stuff will keep me just fine and normally more successful. Nice. Yeah, there's news in 15 minutes. That's why like I'm not really interested in a whole lot. Like I said, you can see Dow's obviously the strongest. S&P is kind of in the middle. Nasdaq the weakest, right? And you can just see that by looking at lows relative to where price is, right? So you can see pretty even. Nasdaq a lot weaker. Dow hasn't even taken that low yet, right? So that is how you find the relative strength in the indices. Just looking at that. Ideally, go run this low. I would have preferred this to go hit first. No, I don't trade any crypto. Yeah, Market Maker playlist is really good. If you follow Sniper on YouTube, he's pretty good. Um, well, like really good with like Market Maker stuff. Hmm. What I'm looking for, I'm wanting to see a Judas off the open down into this area, um, or not even that low, down into the 15-minute OTE area. Then we'll just see. I'm not. I kind of looking at both, right? Like right now, you can see I was wanting sells from all the way over here, right? Still not super clean, just in terms of sells. I think even Nas wasn't super clean, but yeah. My video on Tuesday, I'm gonna probably release it Tuesday night. I gotta make it still. I'm just busy with stuff. Um, will be pretty good. It's just gonna be basically my last video, like higher time frames. So you know how I kind of predicted sells into this area, and then I wanted longs there. How do you take that knowledge to then drop it down to a lower time frame to get long or short? I'm bullish, right? The only thing is weekly time frame. I want to see a low put in to continue higher. So it could be that Monday, Tuesday don't really do much and then rip. I don't really, that's why I don't really do too much on Monday because it's like we're just opening. What is the weekly profile doing? Stuff like that. Um, so you can kind of see how broadening formations work. They're pretty solid. Yeah, I agree with that, Bill. I I don't know. I just want this ran, right? Which it might just leave it for later in the week, which would be fine. I'm perfectly content with the 4 hour doing almost nothing, right? Like we get something like this, I won't be mad, right? Consolidation, drop on Tuesday, go higher, right? Because then I can look for this on Wednesday, Tuesday to get long, right? That's why I used to try to like rush into stuff. Now it's like, well, if I miss something, who cares, right? What do you find out good in trading forex pairs in crypto? I've never traded crypto, so don't know. I don't use the point 0.7 fib, and the whole reason is that to just keep my chart clean, right? Like if I have my fib right here, I know the point 0.7 is going to be about in there, right? So if we turn on the point 0.7 wherever I had it, right? So I just do it because I don't want more clutter on my fib. I'm gonna have to adjust it now. So that's the whole reason I don't use it, because I can just use my eyes. Missing a trade is worse than losing one? I disagree. I'd rather be patient, just watch things play out, than rush into something and lose. And dealing range, sweep internal, sell side. I don't. Do you mean? Yeah. So that's. I think if I'm getting what you're saying is, can it run sell side and buy side internally and still be valid? Which is basically just your broad information. I'm trying to find a good example. But like, right, runs buy side or sell side. I mean, right? See what I mean? I don't really know what you mean by is valid. I just keep expanding the range that you're trading in. Range is kind of subjective in that sense. It's like, oh, what range are we trading in? Well, if we're just looking at this 4 hour here, right, I'm just going to draw. We're trading in this range right here, right? Well, where else are we trading? Well, we're trading in this range right here, right? Well, what else are we trading? Zoom out. Well, we're in this range. You know what I mean? So people get really confused on that. I just say, where is it obvious, right? Go to your 15-minute chart. What range are we obviously in? Well, on this short term here, here's a high, here's a low, right? So that's where this fib is marked out. But if we're just looking more at the overnight session, right? Obvious here, obvious there. There you go. And I used the 3820 high. There's a high there. But that kind of helps out. Do you trade retracement into higher time frame PD arrays? Like, do you mean do I enter short targeting a bullish PD array? That's not a bad idea. Does NVIDIA have earnings coming up, or what is that? Yeah, going back here. Ideally, we run this low here. We'll see. May not get it. That's okay. How's your drawn swing synced between time frames? I mean, I just do this thing, and then I think if you do, I think it's under settings here. I don't know. I think it might just be this is like sync drawings or something. I don't know. I can look into it later. This to me, it makes sense if we sweep internal, sell side liquidity, and external. So the thing is about internal and external is this might be external in this range, but to this range it's internal, right? Range like everything that's internal or external is normally internal to some other range unless you're looking at all-time highs, right? You know what I mean? So that's where internal and external can get kind of confusing for people. Is right now, if we're just looking at this range here, right? This is external liquidity, right? This is at the high. But you zoom out just slightly, now it's internal liquidity, right? So if you want to just DM me on Twitter, like your question with a chart or something, I can probably answer it a little better. Look at the chain. Oh yeah, so this syncs your drawings. Thanks, Nick. And so if you can see, this is our little sell model in a lower time frame, right? So if we zoom in here, here's your initial consolidation and why I wanted to run below this low. Here is our little point of interest up into here. Really messy price action, but this would be your smart money reversal. And then now we're on the sell side of the curve looking for sells, right? And ideally finish below here. Ideally for me, lower, right? So this is our 15-minute. So ideally I want to see a move down below here. Right? Will we get that? Who knows? Um, Curious what week high I take out. Yeah, I want to. See, I want higher personally. Daily. I want to reach up into this range, possibly, right? Anywhere up into here. I kind of want to reach up into there. Just because the way I see it is finish below the lows, aggressive down, aggressive up. Want to obviously reach this high, so that's why bullish on the daily until we reach up into here. But how high could we reach? Well, draw your OTE, right? Reach up above this high. That's putting us right around 4,000. So we'll see. I don't really care too much. Or what time frame are we on here? What do you mean? This 15-minute fair value gap, you mean? You want to see the market crash? I mean, I want to see like 3,200. But which higher time frame point of interest gives you the best win rate? It doesn't really matter. It comes down to the lower time frame setup within that point of interest. I don't know what time frame you're. 11,270. You're talking about that one down there. I mean, that's like I said. This is not how I trade. I don't mark something out here, and when it goes down into their long, right? That's not how I trade. Once we get down into there, then I go to lower time frames. So let's see. NQ weaker though, as you can see, almost running these lows that we want ES to run as well. So we'll see what. I'll pull that up on the oneer. See, obviously Dow's been the strongest, ES kind of middle ground, NQ's been the weakest. So thanks, thank you. Is that yours or am I tripping? What do you mean? I have an overlay on there. On this account, I trade like live streaming. I trade my Elite Trader Funding account on here, and then I have the Ninja. So just got our open, right? So expect to see a drop, and there is our bias. So now we're just going to kind of see. I ideally want to run lower. We don't have to, right? We'll just see what the displacement tells us. If you go over here, oops. I think I turned like auto save off or something. Right here, you just have the 3-chart layout. If you look, our gold analysis is kind of working so far, but everyone wants the market to crash. That means it's probably going to rip. Yeah, you just have to be patient on your lower time frame entries, right? Normally, if you go back to your losses, my losses occurred when I was not being patient. Just remember, our open isn't doing very much. Why is that? Well, what's at 9:45? Red folder news, right? So. I also don't really feel the need to trade too much today because I have a lot of homework and I have to go see an advisor, register for classes and stuff. So that's on my mind right now and not really trading per se. So here we go. So you can see NAS is tanking, right? This is 15-second, but you can see it's tanking down while ES is leading the way or lagging. So ideally you'd see ES start to follow suit here. And if you can see, it's a lot easier to see on this divergent screen. But the little concerning thing here is, what is Dow doing out here? Dow didn't take this low, and it's moving higher, right? So not really what we want to see from Dow. If we're going to get downside, we want to see Dow. Second. So ideally, we get Dow to drop here after running this high. We'll see. NASDAQ reaching all the way down into that 15-minute, right? So we go back there, we get Dow to drop, right? And so all that is running internal liquidity before the drop, right? Basically, what I like to see. But higher time frame wise, we want to be looking. Nasdaq took the low. Right? Stuff is kind of all over the place. You just booked $100. That's sick. So what made you want to sell S&P? I don't like just because I want lower prices before going long, right? And this displacement range right here, pretty bearish. The fact that we only displaced up into about the 50% line, then consolidated, lead me to being bearish, right? And just that, right? Higher time frame, the failure to take 38.20. There's a few other reasons, but I can see it clearly after. Yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah, I'm in college, Billel. So right here we can go back and you can see NAS reached right into that point of interest we had, right? Which is a little concerning for shorts. So NAS, like I said earlier, due to the 1 minute, when we were talking about relative strength, you could see up here was weaker. So if you did want to short, that's the one you wanted to short, right? I'm just sticking on the S&P because it's easier for most people than to be running around. So ideally, I want to see this continue a little lower, but Dow's out here wilding. So I think we're going to pop here. You're a sophomore. Nice. Yeah, I should be a senior, took a semester off and switched my major. So it's like, where can I trade E-mini? Ninja Trader, Tradeovate. There's prop firms you can trade on other things as well. So although this looks really good to the upside, I am a little sus about it. The reason being is normally this would be, oh yeah, looking for longs now, right? What do we have at 9:45? Well, we have news coming up, right? So a lot of times when you get this big run before news or big drop before news, it's setting people up for failure to then go lower, right? We'll see how the news reacts, but ideally this is what I want to look for, right? Higher time frame point of interest. We have this BPR. Then I'd want to see something like this, right? On a normal day. The news, who knows what it does? I don't like to trade right before news. Yep. Yeah, that's actually gonna be my video for Tuesday. Abe. So it should help a lot of people out. Because I have that video on point of interest and I have like building a model video, which I realized I skipped a few things like fair value gap fills. I made it pretty late at night. I was busy. But the other video should help. And Dow is just absolutely ripping. What am I majoring in? I was computer engineering. Now I'm business finance. So if you look, pretty obvious 15-minute divergence here, right? I have the 1 minute chart up, but I'll switch to the 15-minute for you guys, right? You can see Dow took the high. Yes, didn't kind of midway, and NAS is all the way down here, right? So if we switch to the 15, pretty obvious to see that, right? See that? So going back to the 1. We'll see what happens. So really, NASDAQ did what we wanted off the open. I just would have preferred to see it on S&P. Yeah, so that's your BPR, right? Overlapping fair value gap. So aggressive down, aggressive up. There's your BPR. So normal day, you would want to see drop there, that, right? And ideally, you have your displacement range reach up into 50%. So I'd be plenty happy with NAS just tapping off here. But right, I'm waiting for the news at 9:45. If I wasn't streaming, I'd probably be scalping, but Monitor size 27 inches. Yeah, I have 3 27-inch screens. So 2K in profit on NAS. Well, that's solid. So let's see S&P. I'm actually just going to draw out this high here. Right. But ideally, we get a retracement from here, even if we're going to continue long. Yeah, that's kind of a lame tap, though. Everything's kind of disorganized. But I'd want to see a drop here. I mean, they're pretty similar across most platforms. Mathematical finance. Oh, that's sick. My voice is so relaxing. I don't know, some people say that I have a monotone voice, and I'm like, I can't really change it. Yeah, so ideally you would have wanted to, well, I would have wanted NAS here, just because of the risk to reward aspect of it. That's where SMT can kind of get confusing. But yeah, you could have long NAT or DAO right in here. So if you would have long DAO, you would have wanted to put your risk on this low over here, right? Because that's where this SMT is invalidated. The only reason to go for like NAS is looking at a higher time frame here. NAS, you could take long in here, right? And if you had your stop down here, right, that's when you'd be invalidated on the long, just risk to reward wise, because you're buying long down in the discount of this range versus Dow, right? Nasdaq's all the way down here, so kind of like buying highs. It comes up to what you like to do, but we are getting that retracement like I wanted, right? So even if we are going to continue long, right, we want to see a move down into here, there, before going long, right? But like I said, news coming up in 5 minutes. That's why I kind of just stay away. And you can see anyone that tried to long this or FOMO in just got absolutely railed. So CLF. So and you can see our gold prediction. Whoever asked about gold worked out pretty nicely, and that's just how you go from the higher time frames down. So if we go to CL real quick, Alex is talking about it. Yeah, I think Alex has been in CL from down here, I think 81s or something. I think options, so maybe wait daily, somewhere in there. But speech therapy, bro. I'm not going to speech therapy. Like people in my YouTube are saying I have a monotone voice. I need to fix it. If you go to forexfactory.com, so forexfactory.com, I'll drop it in the chat actually for you. So that will tell you what news is coming up. I have it filtered to all of them but just USD, right? And in that way, those are the ones that really affect the indices. If you trade other things, like if you're trading Euro, right, add that in, it'll tell you Euro news, right? So you can see a lot of Euro news there, but I don't trade it, so I just keep it on USD. So I think we're going to drop here, but that is my, like I said, that's what I've wanted all morning. So, but the fact that we're under this high, right? Big green full candle. This would be our bearish order block if we get a drop down. So, do ASMR. That'd be pretty funny, I'm not gonna lie. And I kind of want to make more YouTube channels because I think they're really fun to like connect and talk to people. So we're gonna go back to our three screen here just to show you what's going on. So you can see Dow obviously the strongest, NASDAQ kind of chilling out for the most part, kind of in line with S&P now. So weird I can't see the flash news on my Forex Factory. Not really certain about that, Eddie. Sorry about that. So I want to go. So you can see relatively Dow obviously still stronger, right? You can see that there. But you can see how S&P and NAS kind of are realigned, right? Just relatively why? Relatively. Kawhi Leonard laugh. Yeah, no, my laugh doesn't sound exactly like Kawhi. That is funny though. All right, so news in 30 seconds. Not trading this, but ideally, what would I want to see? I'd want to see the S&P pop right here, then go lower. Right, 5 minute, maybe even a little lower, something like that. That'd be ideal for news. Oh, Kawhi. That's funny. All right, so there's our little pop for the news, right? Just leave it there. And I don't know if it's lagging, but NAS is ripping. So you can see it's really leggy right now. So that might be our pop to take the previous high. We'll see if we even want to reach lower or if we're just going to head right for the 3820s. Either way, if it goes without us, not upset. How do you calculate your contracts on futures? I'll just go over that real quick. We'll go to a 1 minute chart and I'll do it on the side. So let's say we'll do this actually. Right, so let's say I have a 2-point stop, right? I take 10 contracts. 3-point stop, take 7. 4-point stop, take 5, right? And the reason for that being is what's 2 times 10? 100. You're risking, or I mean, 2 times 10 is what? 20. My bad. 20 times 5 is 100. 7 times 3 is 21 times 5, right? So you're at 200 or $110. Everyone is risking about $100 per trade. So that's how I calculate contracts. I actually have a video on that. My math is really bad right now, but looks like we might just be heading for that 3820 there. So depending on if we sustain in these highs. Sorry, I'm just reading some messages. So if we sustain, which looks like we're going to head for these highs, that's fine. We did run this low, right? No closes below, but I just wanted to move lower. It's whatever. How long have I been trading ICT concepts? It's April 15th of this year. How do I avoid flip-flop? Do you mean just like flipping your position? I mean, I have right here, there's no reason for me to flip to longs, right? Because I already said I don't really want to long the highs. Even if we're going to reach for 3820, where's the risk to reward there, right? So it's like not really too hard for me anymore. If we do continue long, I'd like to see something like this, right? But flipping bias, I mean, market, I don't really have like a super set bias. I just let the market structure tell me what to do, right? And that's why I go out to a 4-hour. That's why I wanted this retracement, right? Because displacement, internal liquidity, I wanted to move lower, leave this high to then go higher. If I'm wrong, that's cool, right? I can take scalps and stuff, but I'm not going to trade right before the news, like I already talked about. Hopefully that helps you. But yeah, if you guys want to see something funny, I'll show you. It might not show up. This is pretty funny to me. Is here you can see when I 4/15/22. That's when I started learning ICT, or when I decided to. It took me about 2 weeks to watch all the videos, but all right. So getting our little drop down here. Want to see this low ran, and if we're going to continue higher, what do I want to see? I want to see aggressive down met immediately with aggressive up, right? So let's see. So yeah, we do have that liquidity void, right? So we're reaching into that liquidity void. So we'll see what happens. True support and resistance, they say, right? I was looking for shorts into the discounted 4-hour range. Yeah, that's exactly what I was looking for. I mean, so the thing is, it's like, if price doesn't do what you want to, and it reaches its target, it's whatever, right? Like, you miss your trade, it didn't have your requirements for an entry. It happens, right? And everything, as you can see, nothing's ever going to be exactly what you want. But let's see. But you just have to be willing to let stuff do what it wants. 3R win on the 1 minute MSS line. Good stuff. Once we hit 38.20, I will actually have to get off and go do some stuff. So not super interested on what happens after 38.20, but I'd ideally want to get a little short retracement, right? So maybe then, I'm gonna go here real quick. Really want to look and see what gold is doing real quick, just to see. So gold, we got our move down, retch for that low, and then ripped higher, right? So now we have our broadening formation, probably consolidate and then range expansion. But going to ES here, what do I expect if we hit 38.20? So going out to something like a 4-hour, 15-minute chart, right? We have all these highs up here, 38.20, right? Stuff like that. So if we reach for that, what would I want to see? I'd want to see I reach up into it. Then when we get lower time frame setups to go short, I'd expect a retracement and ideally still would want to target that low put in London low, right? And the reason for that being is go to a higher time frame, like a 4-hour. We run this high, put in our little broadening formation, and then I'd want to see the range kind of do something like that, right? So drawing it out, I'd want to see if we do run this high, something like this, and then like that, right? But we'll see what happens. So if we go back to our 1 minute chart, you can see did get our run under this previous 1 second makes it run under this little low, which is into our liquidity void. However, what is there an absence of right here on a 15-second chart? Are those candles very aggressive at all compared to here? No, right? So I'd rather be looking for a short in here, which is fair value gap, OTE, right? To go lower than trying to long this, right? And that's what my video, it was supposed to be this week, but my video next week is going to be going over displacement or the lack of displacement. So you can see lack of displacement into a point of interest leads to lower prices, and then we take this low, right? Hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. Thanks, man. I appreciate how long you've been trading. So real quick, I'm going to look at this. So once again, if we get a lack of displacement below this low, what is likely to happen? we're likely to go see this high. Right? No displacement close below. And then this is our little broadening formation if I draw it out, right? So you can see like that. So I just wanted to see that because I saw it and didn't want to miss it because it's a good kind of learning experience. So that's kind of how I scalp is, oh, I want to go lower. Well, what did structure tell me? Structure told me we're not going to go below this low. So where is it likely to go? If it can't go below this low, it's either going to do one of two things, right? It's either just going to sit here and consolidate, or it's going to reach for this high, which in times of volatility is more likely, right? So I'd like to see us reach up into here. Sorry, I'll get back to once we hit 38. How long have I been trading? I've been trading for like a year and 3/4 right now, and I wasn't profitable until ICT concepts. So, and then I'll go look at like Euro USD and stuff right after this hits, if it does. Ideally, pops quick, but and so there you go, right? Reaches into that high. It's off by like a minute or 15 seconds, but depending on if we displace over this high, will be pretty telling, right? Or we're gonna just do our classic little broadening formation. Stuck, range expansion, range expansion, range expansion. But here, due to this displacement here, I'd expect us to do something like this, right? All right. Fair value gap has already been mitigated. I mean, it depends, truly. But I'll go look at oops, Euro USD, you said. So didn't quite reach down, right, to where we wanted. That's fine on the 4 hour, but obviously the bias was right into reaching higher on the daily. And then you had what? G. What did I want to see Euro GBP? No, G. Great British Pound. So this one's still currently working out a little bit on the daily. Looks like it's reaching up in that liquidity void, and then I'll go look at GBP. So the way I see this is if you've watched my BPR video, higher time frame point of interest, previous lows here, aggressive move, right? Aggressive move lower, aggressive move higher, continuing here. I'd like to see something like that. Obviously, it depends what Dixie is doing because that is related to it, but you can see starting to get this little drop, right? Can't really displace over this high. We'll see. I wouldn't try to fight this for a short yet. I'd rather try to do that. I'm zooming out. Let's see. Need to eat. See ya. Yeah, see you, Leonard. Yeah, ICT really changed it for me personally. It's all right, man. I mean, likes, I think they help the channel, but I mean, if people don't want to like, I'm not gonna be like, hey, like this, you know. Um, wait, let's see. When you scalp the 15-second chart and it hits the bottom of the broadening formation, how do you enter long? I mean, you can just really, if you want, do something like this. Enter when this candle breaks, do a little strat entry, risk there, target there, right? Something like that. Kind of depends. It's up to personal ideas what you want to do, but Yeah, of course. How do you look for sells? I mean, see right here, lack of displacement over highs leads to lower prices. Now we want to see displacement back up. Ideally, something like this if we're going to go continue higher. If not, I don't expect a lot, right? So I'd want to see an aggressive move higher here, put in a BPR, then it would be like a 5-second entry to continue long, right? So, but if we don't displace, it's most likely going to continue lower here, right? Aggressive, need to counteract that with an aggressive buy, or we're just going to continue lower, right? So there's aggressiveness. We want to see aggressive over structure though, right? Not reaching into structure. I haven't watched any of ICT's videos since his 2022 mentorship, to be honest. How do you correlate lower time frame to or higher time frame TP to lower time frame? I mean, you can take a lot of times, like if I was to enter along here, I would take my partial. Well, it also depends on price action, right? If we don't get any displacement, move my stop to break even because I expect lower prices. Like right now, we're not really displacing, right? So it looks like we're actually going to continue a little lower here, right? Could be wrong, but I normally, if I was long here, I'd take my partial and then I'd reach for that 38.20, right? So essentially, you get into a possible move higher. Take your partial if you want, makes you feel better, whatever, and then you reach for that same price target. But when you take your lower time frame entries, you reduce risk, which allows you to really make more money. And so, like I said up here, right? Lack of displacement higher leads to lower prices. What do we have right here? Lack of displacement higher, get the lower prices, right? And so that's why I'll manage my trade. Like if I was going to enter long there and I see this, no displacement, I would just probably walk my stop up these 15-second charts or change, right? And so that's how a lot of people, it's like, they'll be like, oh, you were wrong here. And it's like, well, I was right in the idea. There was no follow through. Then I get out of my position, you can switch, right? And what do we do right here? Now we run this previous low. You expect a retracement, right? So I'd want to see something like this if we're going to continue lower. Yeah, exactly. So the whole reason broadening formations in ICT goes so well is ICT, let's just pretend this isn't a 15-second chart, right? Just pretend, right? When you see a high ran, you're going to be looking short here, right? Same thing with broadening formations. And the reason I was expecting a little retracement here, run a previous low, want to get some sort of pullback, right? And the way I think about that is screw breakout traders, right? If breakout traders are taking this short, now they get stopped, then it goes, right? Then they FOMO back in. It's just a big mindset game. But I hope you guys can kind of see why I think a video about displacement or the lack of displacement is important, because the whole reason I knew we were going to go back short here is no displacement here, right? So got stopped out, not tradable day. Sorry, man. It's if it's not a day for you, just take the day off, man, and watch it. There's nothing wrong with just watching price. So. But yeah, I think this is going to continue lower. Let me. But yeah, I think SMC is best in choppy market. Yeah, 100%. Trending market. I'm still figuring out ways to get into it more. But mitigation blocks, and then there's a few other things. If you see an order block forming, you can sometimes take that, right? So, do you take that short? No, I'm not trading this. I don't really like trading live. It just gives me really a lot of anxiety. So if I am going to trade this, I'm just going to do it on my side screen on Ninja normally. But Just because, like, for me, it's like I want to explain and teach, but for a lot of times, like, if I'm trying to trade, I'm not gonna have like any of these drawings here, really, right? Um, if I'm trying to teach and explain, I'm just gonna have my chart like this, and like you would just see me like take a short, and then I would be in it, and you'd be like asking why. I'd miss the comments, and it wouldn't be as beneficial to you guys, right? Um, so this way I can explain stuff so you guys can learn a little more, which is to me more important and more productive and makes me feel better than, making some money off this move down. Um, it's not hard to. And I already traded Asia a little bit last night, so yeah, I've done funded trades. Um, but yeah, so now we're getting that reach down like I wanted. We're still leaving those highs. So my idea for the week before our chart is that I would get a move lower Monday, Tuesday, right? Put in a low for the week and then go run these highs Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, whenever after we put in the low, right? So, um, Abe, you want to kind of explain that a little more? What you mean, right? So there we go, getting our drop down. So pretty weak price action, and I bet if we go look at NAS, you can see NAS is a little bit weaker. Dow still hasn't even broken that low. So, uh, yeah, just stick to your plan, whatever it is. Did I take ICT's course to learn? I watched his YouTube 2022 mentorship, and then it's a lot of talking to other peers, and then mostly just screen time, right? Like learning how to watch and trade the 15-second chart didn't really come from watching anyone's videos or learning, right? It came from just sitting here and watching price and being like, oh, right here we have this little high, fails to displace over this high, I want lower prices, aggressive move down. Are we going to get displacement out of here? Because if we get displacement out of here, it could continue higher due to this displacement. We don't get that. Now I expect lower prices, and there's no reason to be trying to long in here, right? Like a lot of people would try to catch a knife, and like let's say this is why I don't trade this. Is let's say this was a higher time frame. Why would you try to long this when you're on a sell side of a curve, right? So the only way I try to long something is you get some sort of move down and either super aggressive back up, like a BPR, after running a low or into a point of interest, or the structure actually shifts to being bullish. So when using ICT, what helped you the most? What are the videos? I started at the 2022 mentorship, and I've watched the Market Maker series, but I learned more about market maker models from practice and my friends like Sniper or MMXM on Twitter, or just talking to it or practicing than I did in those videos. But mostly it's just like comes down to like screen time and just watching. Yep, so FOMO will do that. I'm using ICT, but entering through Bookmap gets super nice. I mean, whatever works for you, you know. So yeah, there isn't a monthly payment on Elite after you get the, like if you pass, then it's like $80 a month. Do I have a video on trading 15-second? Yeah, I have a couple. I don't know. It's kind of hard to make a video hindsight and kind of explain exactly what I'm seeing. So I think this is more beneficial where it's like right here we get the drop into our point of interest, expecting a long. Well, zero lack of displacement, also a psych level there, continue lower, right? And even here, like the thing you have to learn about lower time frames is like a lot of people will see this break right here, right? And they'll be like, oh, structure break, I'm gonna long it. You gotta zoom out to your higher time frame, in this case, like a 1 minute. Be like, I mean, if you are gonna long it, where would you want to take that long to? Right here, right? Not much higher, ideally. Nope, not there. That, right? So you kind of have to be aware. Um, the displacement video, I'm gonna do that one next week. Uh, but yeah. Hmm. So, I mean, if it all depends on personal psychology and how you learn. Like I'm in school right now and I don't take any notes. Like I go through my econ, accounting, everything. I don't take notes in any classes because I don't learn by taking notes. I just learn by sitting there and watching. So for me, like the videos, I just sat there while doing cardio at the gym, binge watched all the videos, learned it, and then I spent about a month and a half of doing exactly what I'm doing right now with you guys is sitting here and watching price and learning from it without taking any trades or even paper trading. The thing why I'd say it worked or helped me is even with paper trading, you care a little bit. You're like, oh, I want to be right, or I want to see how much I can make on this, you know? And when you're doing that, you still have emotions and you'll do unlogical things, right? When you're just sitting here watching price, you have no skin in the game, right? You're just sitting here and learning. It's basically like studying for free, right? You can pay to go to school, right? You can pay your tuition, pay to, take trades, or you can just sit here and learn for basically free. So that's why I think my learning curve was so quick is I just sat here for I did it for a long time, like a month and a half, and I sat here for like 5 hours a day just staring, seeing what would happen. And if you go to like my really old Twitter posts, like I'll actually pull one up. Um, right, so if we go to my really old Twitter posts, like this, right? I just have my ideas. This was back in June, right? So April, May, June. So about 2 months after I started learning. And so just doing this type of stuff, right? With no skin in the game just helps you learn, right? And then seeing what you did wrong, right? So like I thought we were gonna bounce up in this area off this little order block and we go lower. And now it's like, yeah, that makes sense. Reaching, taking internal liquidity, OTE of the range, right? And so like you can just learn from stuff like that. But you did cardio while yeah, I did it while warming up for the gym. Any backtesting software? So I would recommend Soft4 FX. I'll probably make a video on it. Maybe bring in my friend Trader Tristan on Twitter. He uses it a lot and could probably do a better job explaining some backtesting stuff. And maybe do that. Yeah, I pay the most expensive one for TradingView on the 15 second. But as you can see, like a lot of times, if you don't have the 15 second chart, like yeah, you can see this, right? If we just zoom into this price action, right, you can see that, but it's a lot harder to actually see it than if you zoom in here and you can see individual candles. You know what I mean? Like it gives you a whole new perspective, right? So like this, noticing that lack of displacement right here, right? What did that look like on a 1 minute chart? Well, it was just up close candle and then that, right? So ideally, yeah, you see the little wick there, but it's a lot easier to see coming. Um, I don't know. It's more beneficial to me. So break a struck. Okay, so the whole thing, right? Coming down to break a structure, stuff like that. I don't know what the heck I had drawn there, but I kind of want to know. Oh, okay. So if we just go to ES here, right? The whole thing about break a structure versus liquidity grab is displacement, right? That's all it is. Do you get displacement? Do you not get displacement? So looking right here, we have a high, right? If we're going to continue higher, we got to get displacement over this high. Basically, candle closes or fair value gaps there, right? So if we go to a lower time frame, see how there's no fair value gaps here? Can't even close over this previous high. And then we look at a 5 minute here. What do we have here? Fair value gap, right? So that's like what I was tangent is if you were going to long in here, right, and you had some sort of setup, you'd want to target this internal liquidity fair value gap OTE of this range, right? Not quite that high, but up into here, right, to then do that, right? Um, but really, it comes down to is did we displace over structure? No, this is a liquidity grab or just radiant stops, right? Right here, displacing over structure. This gives me more Like, would you rather take a long here or a short here? You know what I mean? Like, obviously not playing breakouts, but this is weaker than this was stronger, right? So I would expect this to continue lower, and then ideally, give me my plan that I wanted earlier today, right? Hopefully that helped. Alfred? Alfard? Um, but really, I think that video that I'm going to come out with over displacement or lack of displacement really will really help some people out. Um, so I would expect some sort of at least retracement up into here relatively soon-ish, just because aggressive move down, we're in OTE of this range, go to OTE of this range before possibly continuing lower. So I'd want to see, like I was already had drawn out, something like this to then go lower. But if you guys don't have any other questions, I think I'll probably hop off relatively soon. Got to do some stuff today. So I'll give you guys a few more minutes to ask questions. I hope it was beneficial. I think it was, yeah, Aaron, my guy. But is there particular videos that made you more enlightened? I mean, I just watched the 2022 mentorship and then really just practiced a lot. There wasn't really anything that was like, oh, this changed everything for me. It's just more of like sitting down and kind of grinding. About over a year. Um, this Denzel. Oh, maybe Denzel. How often you consider order blocks? I don't really look at them too much. Obviously, you can see like this would be your breaker, right? So I'll look at it, but it's normally I just focus on, as you just watched me, displacement, lack of displacement, highs being ran, fair value gaps, OTE, that type of stuff. Yeah, I do. I do have a directional bias. Um, right? Like my directional bias today was we're either going to take 38.20 or I want a retracement down, put in low week to then go reach for this. So ideally, sometime this week, I want to return and just run this high and continue higher. Ideally, Wednesday, something like that. Uh, yeah, so suppressing in the long run. Expect more light into Elite's promo. So right now it's 65% off their accounts. So it's like if you want a 25K account, it's like $40 instead of, or like something like that, $45 instead of like 140. And essentially once you pass that, then you pay that first monthly fee, and then after like 20 days, you can ask for a withdrawal. Um, but I mean, yeah, you can use. I just like to. Ideally, I want lower prices because the 4 hour to retrace to an OTE, right? So I'm bullish, but I want a retracement, so that's why I'm bearish on the lower time frames. As you guys kind of saw today, I was only like prior to the news, like I was just only wanting short setups. Um, where did you take it long? I'm a little confused on if you use the 15-minute where you would have longed in here, unless it was under this previous low. Video on displacement. Yeah, so fast track, you don't have that first monthly fee. Like they pay or like you don't have the $80 monthly fee. So if you pass the fast track, your first month's fee. So basically, if you pay the $50 for the fast track and then you pass it, you can really get your like $1,500 or $2,000 withdrawal for basically $50. So that's the risk to reward in that. But um, video and displacement will be out next week. Yeah, I mean, I can make a video more on liquidity grab versus breakage structure. I'll do that after the displacement video. But all right, if that's all for questions, thanks everyone for showing up. I think it was I took the trade, so on Nas. So I mean, if you took the trade on Nas, you should have been fine for the initial 15-minute fair value gap. I mean, like, look, this is where you're. Right? So Nas here, this is where you hit your 15-minute fair value gap. We retch all the way up to there. I mean, unless you were holding for highs, I don't really know how you'd have lost that one. Anything that helped you with psychology? I kind of talked about it and got some hate for it, but exposure therapy helped me with losing money. Waited for 1 minute displacement. So that's the thing about, I mean, if you got this 1 minute displacement here, even if you entered NAS here, you never stopped out. So I'm a little confused on where you lost. You can DM me on Twitter and I'll kind of help you out. Entered on Euro USD. I don't trade Euro USD, but we can look at it. Or just can't type. So definitely did reach higher. I wanted us to just kind of like, yes, reach a little lower before we got that move higher. But see ya, Aaron. I'll talk to you in the Discord. But yeah, I'll go ahead and hop off here. If you guys have any questions, feel free to comment on YouTube or reach out to me on Twitter. I'm pretty available. But I hope you guys had a exposure therapy. I just basically, yeah, it's basically like I let myself lose money to realize it was okay to lose money. But yeah, I post my ideas in the futures Discord. Right, so like this is what I posted last night. Basically my idea I went into this morning. I wanted that London drop to go higher, so it's still what I want. Now we just have internal liquidity resting there. What do you trade mostly? Yes. But I don't use 10-year treasuries or anything like that. Is it possible to have you spend about 30 minutes walking through a chart a few days? I mean, on Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays, in the Discord, I basically do like an educational session, and then I live trade on Fridays. But yeah, if you guys have anything else, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter or just in the comments. I'll get to them. But I kind of gotta go. So hope you enjoyed the stream, and I will talk to you guys